Hi, I'm Brett, and I'm about to talk about a boy wonder and how we can fight against darkness. So recently, my son and I were at Universal Studios, and we were in line for the Despicable Me ride. It's called Minion Mayhem. And after we'd been in line for about 45 minutes, this loud noise of people shouting came from immediately right behind us. And I turned around and saw that there were these two adults just screaming at each other. I have no idea why they were upset or what they were upset about, but they were just screaming. Everything you can imagine, racial slurs, yelling, screaming, accusing, all kinds of stuff. And I think typically for me, if I'm in that environment, my first reaction, particularly if I'm with an 11-year-old child, my son Judah, would be to kind of run away, just to get away from it and let somebody else handle it. But I was in this weird situation where I'm stuck inside this roping line, and it would have been very, very difficult to get away from what was going on ahead of us here. And so I'm looking at this situation going, well, what am I supposed to do here? I felt like maybe I had a moral obligation to dive into the middle of it and create peace or be a mediator, but I didn't feel comfortable to do that. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to stop this fight. And as I'm sitting there kind of pondering, well, what am I supposed to do here to help this situation? I looked down and I saw that of the family that was closest to us, it was literally right behind us in line, this young child, probably 4 years old, 5 years old, had kind of scooted away from this conflict and right up next to me and my son Judah. And I looked down at him, and he was clearly kind of uncomfortable and rattled and didn't know what to do. And I just looked at him and said, "So tell me what you did today that was awesome." And we then launched into this conversation about Transformer rides and The Simpsons and shooting aliens on Men in Black and Harry Potter and all these things. And as these two grown-ups shouted at each other, I got down on one knee with my son Judah, and we talked to this little boy about the adventures of the day. And as I've been thinking about that since it happened, I realize how many times there are in my life when I feel like the world confronts me with darkness, and I see this darkness in front of me, and I'm a bit overwhelmed by it. I know it's bad. I can see the conflict. I can see the fighting, but I don't know what to do about it. And I think what this situation reminded me of is that sometimes the best way to fight the darkness isn't to fight it at all. It's instead to look for the light and to try to protect it, to nurture it, and to help it grow and to bring it in many ways as we can to the world. As I was thinking about this, I was thinking about one of the earliest superhero characters, Robin, the boy wonder. And this character has been part of the Batman mythology almost from the beginning. And I think over the years, people have come to kind of question, well, why is this character even necessary? You know, here's this character in bright green and yellow and red and fighting and making these quips with a character who in general has become this very dark, stoic, heavy character that fights the darkness continually, which is Batman. And why does this character even still need to exist? And what is the purpose of Robin, the boy wonder? And my friend Jake Black, not to be confused with the Hollywood star Jack Black, has written several Batman stories for DC Comics. And his most recent one, which he sent me an autographed copy of, is called Coin Toss. And Jake wrote an article a couple of years ago, an essay, about Robin and why he's important and what he means. And from his perspective, the purpose of Robin was to kind of be a symbol for Batman and his everyday life of what he was fighting for, what the point was, because it would be easy for Batman to get so caught up in the darkness and the evil that he forgets what his real purpose and real job is, which is the protection of innocence, to try to keep other young people from experiencing the kind of evil and horrors that he experienced in his life. And so Robin has the potential to be a constant reminder of the good, of the light, of the innocence that's in the world. And I appreciated that perspective so much, and it makes me think about the world around me. You know, the experts in social media and the people that run our news media every day, they know that we're much more inclined to respond and to engage with posts and headlines that are about how terrible the world is and shouting fire and, how bad everything is and all the terrible things we're doing to each other. And we are so drawn to even look at the fighting. We're kind of, in some ways, the people that are standing on the side of the schoolyard brawl yelling, fight, fight, fight. Even if we don't mean to be those kind of people, sometimes we become that without realizing we've become it. And I think that was part of me, that my instinct was to sit back and watch these two people at Universal Studios brawl with each other. But the truth was that the best way I could help in that situation, I think, wasn't to try to dive into the middle of that and pick sides and argue and fight. It was to look and find the light and the goodness and the innocence and to try to protect it, to try to help it, to try to say, what did you do today that was awesome? And to then be a person that could be a beacon to share that in a positive way with the world. And so if you're sitting there today and you're saying to yourself, I feel overwhelmed with darkness, there's just so much darkness in my own life, and I don't know what to do about it. I'm looking at the world and there's so much darkness everywhere, and I feel like just overcome with this sense of how bad things in the world are. I think what I would say to that, and at least what's coming up in me these days, is to look for the light, to try to find it, because it's always there. It's always there. Our eyes sometimes are so averted to the darkness because we're drawn to it in weird ways, but the light is always there. Don't miss it. There is light in you, that sometimes you get so focused on the mistakes you've made and the stupid things you've done that you miss it, you forget about it. But there is light in you. There is light in your family. There is light in the world. And I think now, even more so, I am inclined to be a person that wants to be an ambassador for light, to bring those kinds of stories to the front. And that's really what our next movie, Look to the Sky, is all about. We're going to share stories of young people who are bringing light and hope into the world and doing things in a positive way, and I hope that will encourage more light. And that's what our not-for-profit, the Rising Heroes Project, is all about. It's about encouraging people to find the light within themselves and then bring it to their community in a positive way. And so that's what I would encourage today for myself and for you, that we would find the light, that we would find ways to celebrate it and to share it with each other. Thanks for being a light. Thanks for being a superhero. Have a heroic day.